Here are 4 myths about trauma after my discoveries from the book, The Body Knows the Score. Number 1 is you're so young to remember it doesn't matter. It's so untrue. The most profound mental, emotional effects happen below the age of 6. We depend upon mum and dad, and this can create a big attachment issue where dad is responsible for our arousal, mum for nurturing. In the absence of either or, we tend to escape it for familiar or find very negative patterns as adults. We tend to also adopt something called complex trauma, where we suffer the consequences as adults, where we become indecisive, anxious, flight, freeze, procrastinating, we don't believe in ourselves, high self-doubt, lots of fear, all comes as a response as not dealing with those negative, debilitating beliefs we were taught by our parents. When our brain is trying to do its best development in emotional senses, we can numb out emotions just so we can adapt, cope. Our brain is actually deactivating in spaces where we create identity, meaning, and no wonder we start to forget who we truly are when we have a devastating childhood. Number 2, time will heal. Absolutely not true. Sometimes we need to attune to those experiences, write very crystal clearly, access those memories, because what can happen is triggers can repeat old trauma. So when those stories are living inside you unwritten, they can perpetuate, causing all sorts of problems. When the external world relives itself where it was vitally painful for you, it can be super triggering to a central nervous system that can't delineate or distinguish from a limbic brain perspective how to deal with that emotional processing. Sometimes actually going into that inner work, doing the meditations, the self-soothing techniques, really grieving those old emotions can help you move on. Number 3, medication works. Now look at the messaging. Is that coming from pharmaceutical companies and those that benefit from your fear or requirement or dependence upon these? I do agree that sometimes we do need a collaboration of both medication, CBT, and therapy and psychotherapy, along with that development of our emotional and psychological states. However, when we become dependent upon substances, we're only just suppressing that state. It's a quick fix and we are only looking for another relapse. Why can't we educate an external world so we create more acceptance around trauma and how to deal with those that are suffering mental hardships and emotional hardships as a result? Let's create a compassionate culture rather than condemn and suppress and isolate those cases. It will be the make or break for the society. And that's my fucking opinion on that. Number 4, those who are traumatized are avoidants. Yes, we can see that avoidants are dealing but not feeling. However, those anxiously attached would become feeling rather than dealing. And both are opposite sides of the spectrum to coping with trauma. From the inside out, we need to self-soothe, reaffirm, rewrite those stories, and start to really hold ourselves with the compassion for what we once lost in that traumatic story. You can rewrite your story, and all of these myths are projected upon you by those that are emotionally immature, bypassing their own inner work, and those you should not own. So please do comment below if you agree or disagree with me. Let's get discussing.